daar nu kijken. Het gevecht tussen Rinconta en Ceremonies.
Checkered flag then on the previous race. As you can see, it's a very busy Sunday morning at the Circuit Zolder, where in just a few moments' time we are going to begin affairs in earnest for the EuroNASCAR 2 season finale. The NASCAR GP Belgium is just a few moments away. This is a good little indicator, though, of what you can expect from a weekend in EuroNASCAR. Each and every weekend, we're joined by the cream of the crop in national racing. This is the conclusion of the Belcar Sky Limit Sprint Cup race, but the EuroNASCAR 2 Championship decider is just around the corner, and it's going to be a thrilling race. The championship complexion in EuroNASCAR 2 has changed significantly over the last 24 hours, especially in terms of who won yesterday's race. When we left you yesterday in EuroNASCAR 2, we were expecting Paul Dufresne as our race winner. He crossed the line first. He was in victory lane. However, there was an amount of doubt surrounding the result, especially from Paul Dufresne himself after contact with Alberto Nasca. And so it has proven to be Dufresne demoted down to 7th place by the end of the evening. 30-second penalty in lieu of a drive-through for Paul Dufresne. And what that has done is it's placed Vladimir Osiotsis at the top of the championship by 10 points heading into the final race in EuroNASCAR 2. However, it must be said that 10 points is not a big margin, and Vladimir Osiotsis, frankly, hasn't looked like the informed driver so far this weekend. So I have to see what happens. Of course, it's 80 points for a win in this format and 70 points for second place. So a 10-point margin is not a cushion at all, realistically, in this format. Double point season finale. And as you can see, looking at these pictures from the conclusion of the Belcar race, it's certainly not wet weather conditions out there. It's not wet weather tyre conditions out there. And we are awaiting confirmation of what everyone is going to bolt onto the cars when we go racing. But we can now kick off the EuroNASCAR broadcast in earnest. It's time for the championship deciders.
When you come to Kvarner, treat yourself to an experience you will remember. Enjoy the luxurious ambience. Experience superior service. Indulge in endless pleasures. The pearl of the tourism offer in the pearl of the Adriatic. Liburnia, Hotels and Villas.
So it is Sunday morning at the Circuit Zolder. Anticipation has been building since everyone arrived at the circuit. And as you can see, most of them have arrived in jumpers. We're down under 10 degrees, I think, for the first time this season on the last day of the season here at the Circuit Zolder. There's a lot of cloud cover. There's the potential for rainfall on the radar over the course of this EuroNASCAR 2 race. The race has been declared wet, interestingly, which could be a factor in this. The teams have been permitted to bring trolleys with dry or wet tyres on to the pre-grid. Now, I imagine everybody's going to be on slicks at this stage because you don't trust the radar when the circuit is practically dry, and practically dry is exactly what I would describe the circuit as at this juncture. But what will happen potentially with the weather? Because certainly Race Direction believe there's good reason to expect rain before the end of this race. So we're going to have to keep an eye on the clouds above. And we are going to have to keep a close eye on that title battle as well. Let's remind you of the format in regard to this weekend. All season long, a victory has been worth 40 points. But this weekend, a victory is worth 80. It's the double points season finale with 80 points on the line for a win at 70 points for second place. And then it goes down in twos from there. So a victory is immensely valuable in this finals weekend. And of course, also worth remembering those bonus points, 8 points of bonus if you take the most overtakes over the course of a race distance. So if someone in the title hunt is starting outside the top 10, for example, that can be a huge benefit, a huge buoyancy aid for their title campaign. Is there anybody in this race to watch out for in that regard? Well, potentially Vladimir Osieltsis, because he's down in 9th place on the grid. Our current championship leader will be starting down in P9. And the concern for him is significant because the driver on pole position is the driver that is second in the championship. And with just 10 points between Siortsis and Paul Giuffreau, well, that could be all of the shift and all of the opportunity that Paul Giuffreau needs. There's the point standings as it stands. Vladimir Osieltsis is on 358 points. Paul Giuffreau, who was a provisional winner yesterday, ended up being knocked down the order, still just 10 points off the championship lead. If he wins and Siortsis comes second, well, that's going to go down to countback, and that would actually fall in favour of Siortsis, I believe. But Siortsis needs to be second place if Giuffreau takes the win today. Gilles Linster, third position and 14 points back. He was declared a winner for the first time this season. Yesterday, Gilles Linster, after the penalty for Giuffreau, puts himself right there into contention. Alberto Nasca, just 27 points back in 4th place. It's going to be an outside shot now for Nasca after he and Paul Giuffreau collided yesterday in controversial circumstances. Patrick Schauber in 5th place. Martin Dubeck in 6th position. He's on the front row today, looking to end his season on a high. Jack Davidson, the rookie trophy points winner, is in 7th, ahead of Melvin de Groot, the legend trophy points leader. Claudio Remeggio Capelli in 9th place, and Thomas Dombrowski rounding out your overall top 10. Ariana Casoli is the lady trophy points leader. So then our cars are released onto the circuit. In a matter of moments, we will be ready to race with EuroNASCAR 2. One car we're not expecting to see out on the circuit, if you weren't with us yesterday, Sven van Leer had a huge accident in the number 56 Cal Racing entry in the EuroNASCAR 2 qualifying session. The car too damaged to compete again this weekend. The chassis damaged beyond repair. So he and Mark Dewsons were unfortunately out of a drive, but they're not out of a job, because I understand they have been assigned the role of Grand Marshals for this race. So two of the local drivers getting the opportunity to still participate in the American Festival of NASCAR here at the Circuit Zolder. This event has gone from strength to strength in recent years, and it feels like a very good place. Obviously, one of the most historians to contend with as well. If we can, let's take a look at the circuit layout from above, if that's possible. The course, of course, just on 2.5 miles in length, which means we're going to have 15 laps of racing here, just by the river where we go racing is where we're going to conclude the season finale, or we're going to conclude the 2023 season of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. By the official count, it's 11 corners, but of course a few of those are chicanes, so some more changes of direction in reality, but certainly a complex track. We can expect plenty of overtaking around turns 1 and 2 at both chicanes. Turns 9 and 11, all great overtaking spots as well. We saw a lot of passing based on momentum out of turn 1 into turn 2 yesterday, and it was exactly that, side by side between Dupro and NASCAR, that caused the biggest controversy of Saturday. Andre Vigold, though, is down there now, so Andre, to you.
Thank you so much, Adam. I'm here with Paul Giffreau, championship contender in this race. Zortis is still in first. What's your plan?
To win is the only plan. If I win and if Vladimiros is second, I'm not champion, so I have not my championship 100% in my hand. So yeah, we will see. Of course, with the incident yesterday with NASCAR, it's not the way that I wanted to be here, but it happens. We cannot go back to the past. Yeah, so we have to focus on this race now, and yeah, the objective is to win.
I have to ask this: how did you sleep that night?
What?
How did you sleep that night?
I sleep well. I always sleep well. Yeah, I think I slept 8 hours, so I'm good.
All right, thank you so much, merci beaucoup. Good luck. Back to you, Adam. National anthems.
Okay, let's go to the anthem. Okay, just over 3 minutes until the countdown to command is given. They're not going to hang around today with the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. EuroNASCAR 2 title decider just around the corner. Of course, when it comes to championship contenders, we have to talk about this man who yesterday finally ducked that reputation as Mr. Fourth Place, Jill Linster with Andre.
Thank you so much. Finally, your first win. You're still in the contention for the championship win. I know a lot of things have to go your way, but how do you feel before this final race?
I feel very motivated. This season we had some times that it was not going our way, so if it all comes together at one race, I will take it.
Any special plan for today?
Yeah, winning the race. I think that's the main goal. I have to win, so yeah, just win actually.
Your teammate Liam is also in the hunt for the junior trophy, so how much risk can you take, because your team has not so much time between the races to repair the car if something goes wrong?
I think we have the best and the fastest team in repairing something, so actually I think even if I will make a little mistake, the guys in the pits, they are amazing. They're going to fix everything for Liam.
Thank you so much. Good luck. Back to you, Adam.
I'm sure that quote fills Liam with confidence. Okay, well, it's very true. Hendrix Motorsport are brilliant at what they do. Well, for Jill Linster, it isn't actually win or bust, strictly speaking, but if he doesn't win this race, he will need both Paul Givreau and Vladimir Osiortsis to fall down the order significantly, and that doesn't look particularly likely to happen as it stands. And so the car's just a minute and 10 seconds away from being launched here. So Andre is going to vacate the grid now, along with the gathered masses, and the engines will be fired shortly. As we know, it's Cal Racing's Sven Van Leer and Mark Goosens that will deliver the most famous words in motorsport in the next 45 seconds. Very exciting to see that they get at least some participation in one of the races, given how popular Mark Goosens in particular is. The Goose is a perennial figure in Belgian motorsport. Well, it's Paul Givreau and Martin Dubeck on that front row of the grid. They'll lead them away momentarily on the formation lap. The command is coming, though, so let's head our way down there and see the command given. There you go, Mark Goosens delivers the most famous words in motor racing. And we are excited to see quite what comes of this one. The championship hangs in the balance as the engines fire up and we get ready to go racing. We'll talk you through the grid when they start rolling in just a few moments' time. Okay, well, we'll see the cars roll in just a few minutes. There's the Jill Linster fan club. They've got a lot of reasons to smile given what has happened so far this weekend. A race win, and I think Linster, title or no title, would love to take a win in proper circumstances. He'd love to bring the car into victory lane properly. this time. Of course, yesterday Paul Giffro was in victory lane but got penalised retroactively. So Lindster will feel like I'm sure he counts it as a win. We heard him talk about the win, but it will feel that little bit more real if he manages to take it on the road today and takes the car to victory lane. And of course, if he does succeed in doing that, he's got a high chance of being champion, but he needs things to go against Paul Giffro, and he needs Vladimiros Tsiortsis to struggle in this race. Of course, Tsiortsis starting from the 5th row of the grid, so it is going to be a difficult task for the Super Cypriot, the speedy Cypriot, the driver who has held the Cyprus flag aloft on the podium so many times this year. Let's keep an eye on how this race goes. Believe we will have the grids up. Here we are. Paul Giffro is our pole sitter for this race then. And for the first time this weekend, we've got Martin Dubek up at the sharp end. He had a good lap time yesterday. Fastest laps to term in this grid. He starts second ahead of Jill Lindster. Patrick Schauber starts from P4. He'll definitely be one to watch in this race, as will Alberto Nasca. Now an outside shot at best in the championship. Melvin de Groot in P6. P7 for Roberto Benedetti. P8 for Claudio Remeggio Capelli in the number 18 car. Vladimiros Tsiortsis has work to do from 9th on the grid. He needs to make up places. If Giffro wins, second is the very least that he needs. Jack Davidson in 11th place there, looking to get to the rookie trophy championship today. Mikael Blekemolen, the highly experienced 73-year-old racer, in 13th alongside Thomas Dombrowski. And rounding out the top 15 is Eric de Donker. While I would conventionally run through the rest of the grid now, I will remind you of a few different permutations. If Tsiortsis wants to win this championship, he must finish in second place. Giffro needs to win and hope that Tsiortsis is third or lower, or finish 6 positions higher than Tsiortsis if he doesn't win. Jill Lindster is going to have to win with Tsiortsis 5th or lower, and Paul Giffro is going to need to fall off the podium. There's a lot of different ways this could go. For Alberto Nasca, he frankly needs a disaster for just about everybody else. We'll have to see what happens over the course of this race distance. We are about to go racing. For the final time in the EuroNASCAR '23 season. It's going to be Martin Dubek and Paul Giffro running side by side into the first corner this time. But Paul Giffro, he has to really try and take that race victory. Vladimiros Tsiortsis starting from down in 9th. It's critical that he makes his way up the order. The championship is decided now. It's Paul Giffro that leads into the first corner. Martin Dubek in second place, holds on around the outside. Everybody will be on slick tyres. Thomas Dombrowski showing that it's definitely still wet on the grass there. He goes aquaplaning at the back of the pack. Everybody else 2 or 3 wide through the first sequence of corners. The race has been declared wet, and that means flag to flag. So if there is rain that arrives, they are going to have to do live pit stops. But is that a red flag? No, start okay. There was red on the graphic there. I was worried that there was a red flag, but I didn't think there was any cause for it. There was not any cause for it. We are fine. We are running. At the front of the order, it is still Paul Giffro. Goes through the Villeneuve chicane for the first time in this race. Nice, comfortable advantage. Paul Giffro is your race leader on the first lap of this race. Martin Dubek second. Jill Lindster still there in third. Schauber, Nasca, top 5 have all remained in order. Now where Siortzis is as well. Thomas Tuffel has got some damage, and I wonder if that is part of his car. There is an incident at turn 1 under investigation. I would assume that's how Dombrowski ended up off circuit as well. Just looking back in the pack to see where Siortzis is. Siortzis has lost positions. Siortzis is down in 10th place. So Vladimiros Siortzis going the wrong way here. The number 5 car. Siortzis have been so strong this season. 5 wins heading into Oschersleben, but since the NASCAR GP of Germany, it's just felt like Siortzis has been on the back foot. He's got some work to do now to be a champion, especially with Paul Dufresne leading and getting away from the chasing pack, and Martin Dubeck doing some favours for Dufresne right now. Seems to be holding back the river. Linster, Schauber, Nasker, De Groot, all just there behind him at the moment. We'll have to see how Martin Dubeck's race pace is. Of course, we saw him get a good fast lap yesterday. That's why he's so far up the order. That doesn't necessarily convert to overall race pace. Jack Davidson down in 12th position. He's the leading driver in the rookies right now. So he is on course to secure that rookie championship, also 7th overall in the standings coming into this weekend. Team down at Speedhouse, watch on. They don't have a dog in this championship fight. RDV competition very much do, it's their only dog. And it is Paul Dufresne, who of course is also working with them this weekend to try and secure the team's championship, something which I think if all things ended yesterday, I think they would have secured the team's championship just about. Vladimiros Siortzis on the back then of Benedetti. Roberto Benedetti, the driver that's gotten past Siortzis in the early stages. Fabrizio Armetta is a bit of a spoiler there as well. Now, it's worth noting, if you have an entry list in front of you, Fabrizio Armetta has NC against his name. Now, that means that he is not going to be a factor in the championship hunt per se. He will still score points, but so will Benedetti score points for 8th place. Side by side between the two of them as they go through that first chicane, the Klein chicane, up and over the crest. And, well, Benedetti somehow managed to find room, but he didn't manage to get past. But effectively, Armetta would score points for 8th, and Benedetti would score points for 8th as well, which would mean Siortzis would score points for 9th, even though he's in 10th. That is what the effect the NC has on the name beside Fabrizio Armetta. Paul Dufresne in the lead of this race as it stands. Martin Dubeck, Jill Linster, Patrick Schauber, now Berto Naski, your top 5, and look at how the gap is extending. Paul Dufresne is the leader of this race by 2.1 seconds now. Jill Linster needs the win realistically. Vladimiros Siortzis needs to work his way up the order. If Dufresne wins the race, he needs to be second. It's that simple. However, right now he's trying to get his way beyond 10th position. He's got a mountain of work to do. And every passing lap for Siortzis, this championship becomes less and less of a possibility. He does, however, get a good run out of turn 4. Not quite good enough, however. After a certain point, realistically, Siortzis is going to need a safety car to bring him back into the hunt. It's a compelling and complex situation that Siortzis finds himself in, and one that he wouldn't have foreseen. I don't think any of us expected Siortzis' form from Oschersleben to transfer over to Zolder. Granted, luck has been a bit more on his side here. Oschersleben was a terrible weekend from a mechanical perspective. He had all sorts of issues and dramas, engine issues at Oschersleben. Here at Zolder, he just hasn't had the pace. Linster has fallen off the back of Martin Dubeck a little bit, so Linster now maybe on the back foot too. Alberto NASCAR not able to advance in these early stages either. He's there in 5th place and under a bit of pressure from Melvin de Groot and his good friend Claudio Remeggio Capelli. Patrick Schauber to the inside of Gil Linster. Could this be a move on for 3rd place from the young Austrian racer? Schauber with a nose ahead. He's got the inside line. Fairly textbook from there. Well done, Patrick Schauber. He is up into 3rd place. Claudio Remeggio Capelli with a nose to the inside there. Worth noting that, of course, in the Legend Trophy element, this is very close as a championship battle. Melvin de Groot has 280 points. Claudio Remeggio Capelli has 278. Ergo, he who finishes ahead will practically win the championship. I'm not sure what will happen if Capelli finishes just 1 position ahead of de Groot. On the countback, I think it would be Capelli that wins it, if I'm not mistaken. But as it stands, they're running next to each other in 6th and 7th place. De Groot currently outscoring Capelli, which is exactly what he needs. But keep an eye on the 69 and the 18, because they are fighting at very close quarters for the Legend Trophy. Alberto NASCAR looking to try and demote Gil Linster. Linster has ended up in familiar territory he didn't want to see today, and that is 4th place. Alberto NASCAR certainly not familiar with 5th position. This is a huge test for Alberto NASCAR at this point. He has had things go against him a lot in the last 2 meetings, unfortunately. Of course, there was a collision between himself and Linster. There was the incident last time out on Saturday here between himself and Paul Giffreau, and when that stuff starts to happen to you consistently, you have to really fight against your instinct to throw your hands up and say, oh God, what's even the point? But NASCAR doing an admirable job here, running up the order in 5th position. The 54 car could still be the championship winning car, but Paul Giffreau frankly needs a much worse time than he's having at the front of the order. If things were to finish as they are, to confirm, it would be Paul Giffreau as champion. I think, oh, here comes Vladimiros Tsiotsis. Tsiotsis goes up the inside there of Fabrizio Armetta. We just cut away from that, but that was the championship contender making a move for 8th place. Now, what's happened to Benedetti? He's fallen down to 12th, so I think Roberto Benedetti has had an issue somewhere. And there is Vladimiros Tsiotsis up into 8th position. Can he drive into something like a miracle over the course of the next few laps? He's now up to 8th position. Oh, but he goes wide at the first corner. Oh no, Vladdy, keep your head cool, my friend. Fabrizio Armetta isn't going to make it easy for you. Vladimiros Tsiotsis in 8th place right now. He needs really to start pulling tricks out of the bag that we haven't seen from him this weekend so far, to close in on that pack ahead, which itself is a Herculean task on lap 7 of 15. He then somehow needs to become the greatest overtaker in EuroNASCAR history to make his way up into P2 to have any shot of the championship. It is a daunting, perilous and steep mountain to climb. The promotion and Vic Motorsport cars are in the gravel at turn 1. That's the number 8 and the number 99 cars respectively. So that is Paolo Valeri, who has managed to come together with Eric de Donker. Unfortunately, R34 with a 5-second penalty for causing an avoidable collision, and we're under full course yellow conditions. Speaking of penalties, car 65 also receiving a penalty. That is Riccardo Romagnoli, who has got a penalty for forcing another car off track. I'm not sure who that would have been against, but I do speculate, and I emphasize speculate, that it may have been Benedessi, because Benedessi fell down a few positions unexpectedly. But we're now under full course yellow conditions, and as a rule, this should mean that everyone stays at the same intervals if everyone pays attention to the FCY properly. Lap count saying lap 1 of 15. I promise it's not. But the number 8 car being towed out. Martin Dubek in second position. Third place is Patrick Schauber. And look at all of that gravel that's being left down where everyone tries to put the power down on corner exits. I wonder if that's going to be a factor. I don't think anyone will thank Paolo Valeri for that. Giffro. This all plays into his hands, of course, because this isn't like a regular safety car. So the pack isn't being closed in on him. For Vladimir Osiortsis, this is all, of course, neutral time that he could be using to roll up the order. And unfortunately, he's not getting the opportunity to do so. Osiortsis having to sit here in purgatory at the moment, just stuck, idling around, not able to close in on the cars ahead of him, and that's going to be so frustrating. And of course, there is no actual speed limiter here. They're assigned a certain gear and RPM for the full course yellow procedure. So Osiortsis has to be so careful to not have his adrenaline get the better of him. And just tiptoe over the edge and start making up time. They will notice on the time deltas if he does that. Oh dear. Okay, well, there was a significant hit for Eric de Donker, wasn't there? That suspension has been collapsed, and unfortunately that means they've got a bit of work to do in order to get the car back out there for Tobias Downhauer going into the EuroNASCAR Pro season finale. Be ready is the announcement from race control. And the full course yellow will be lifted momentarily. Well, they are running already, but it still says full course yellow everywhere. We'll have to see whether or not they have gone too soon. I'm not sure they have. Green flags are out, so no, I think the announcement just hasn't filtered through on my end yet, but they are running now at speed and the green flags are showing. Giffro is your race leader. The Vict Motorsport number 8 car heads into the pit lane after its trip to the gravel, but we are now racing. Giffro is your leader. Dubek should be in second place, but did I see him there across the line? I think he must still be there. I don't think he's dropped. No, he is still there in second place. Good, good, good. Oh, goodness me. Claudio Remeggio Capelli, exactly what I said. There's gravel down there now on the racing line, and I think that nearly caught out Capelli. Vladi Osiortsis in 8th place, still with all of that work to do. Green flags everywhere now. Patrick Schauber, I think, had his wiper on there momentarily. Let's not add any more drama. Jack Davidson and Fabrizio Armetta fighting further back, but all eyes on Osiortsis because he, of course, comes in as the championship leader. As of now, until we cross the line, he is the championship leader. No points are scored, of course, until we cross the line. But as it stands, he will lose that championship lead and indeed the championship victory. Oh, as he runs very wide to Paul Giuffreau. Now, Claudio Remeggio Capelli ran wide as well. And we also saw, I think momentarily, the wipers engaged on Patrick Schauber's car. That was a lot of understeer from a lot of parties. It is raining. That was the point I was getting to. I had a feeling it was starting to rain looking at some of those lines. Let's look at the leaders then to make sure everybody stays on circuit. Paul Giuffreau crosses the line. Martin Dubeck in second place. The rain is falling. Goodness gracious me. Patrick Schauber, Gilles Linster, and Alberto Nasca, your top 5 right now, but it seems to be at the far end of the circuit, the opposite end from pit lane, that we have rain falling. Vladimir Osiortis, this could be his golden opportunity if he can stay on the circuit and if others struggle. Oh, both Alberto Nasca and Claudio Remeggio Capelli in strife. Siortis promoted up to 7th place then as a result of this. Oh, and Claudio Remeggio Capelli is really struggling on these slick tyres in these wet conditions. A reminder of what race control said at the start of the race. This one is going flag to flag. So it's up to them to try and pit if that's what they want to do. But with so few laps remaining on lap 10 of the race, I don't know that anyone's going to try unless it really starts to rain so heavily that you frankly cannot turn. I think that we are going to stay on the slick tyres, and that's going to make things very difficult. Vladimir Osiortis has closed in on Alberto Nasca. Nasca, of course, has also fallen down behind Melvin de Groot, and de Groot's Legend Championship is now more secure, with Capelli struggling and de Groot up in 5th place. Melvin is currently on course to take the championship in the Legend Trophy. Paul Giuffreau is your race leader at this stage. Martin Dubeck and Patrick Schauber not too far back, and of course Martin Dubeck could play spoiler here for Paul Giuffreau. 5.5 seconds is the gap right now. Giuffreau cannot afford to put a foot wrong because he needs to significantly outscore Siortis. Without that 10 points of advantage between 1st and 2nd place, the title picture would change significantly. Oh, Nasca almost ends up out wide again. Well, here's a battle we thought would be for the championship at one point this weekend. Nasca versus Siortis. Nasca now an outsider in the title race. Vladimir Siortis, though, needs to get past the Italian to have any shot at the title. You can see how treacherous it's becoming through the first sector of the lap. It looks particularly bad there at Canal Box, the Canal Corner, turn 3. Bulletin just through from race control. Rain reported. Yeah, no, I think they know. It's very, very treacherous out there. And Mikael Bleekemolen has ended up in the gravel. Bleekemolen in the gravel trap. Now that could cause another pause. Yellow at turn 2 right now. Vladimir Osiortis still behind Alberto Nasca as they run downhill towards the towards Boulderberg and Jochen Rindt. Melvin de Groot attacking Gilles Linster, and through goes Vladimir Osiortis. Siortis has got it done. Siortis up into P6. Full course yellow has just been declared. So Siortis got that done in the nick of time, but time is running out for everybody now. Paul Giuffreau again gets an opportunity to collect himself, to breathe, to consider the permutations. As it stands, he would be champ. What a feeling that would be for him, an RDV competition, but they can't allow themselves to lapse into thinking about it just yet. Especially in these conditions, with this uncertainty. Will it keep raining? Will it start raining harder? It's a real chess game here. Vladimiros Siortsis has moved his way up into 6th place then. Still not enough. He needs 2nd. 3rd or lower, he's not champion. He will be hoping against hope that things work in his favour. But as the lap counter ticks down, it feels less and less likely. Keep an eye on the 72 car here. How's the progress? Well, we're maybe still a lap away looking at that. EuroNASCAR and Vladimiros Siortsis trundle around the circuit at the moment. It would be a championship win for Dufro overall. Melvin de Groot would hold on to the Legend Trophy Championship. The rookies would fall with leader Jack Davidson. Of course, the Lady Trophy to Ariana Casoli. Mikael Bleekemolen, though, in the changing conditions, having a moment. And, well, if someone as experienced as Mikael Bleekemolen can make an error in these conditions, that tells you everything you need to know. Bleekemolen, 73 years old, former F1 driver, has raced just about everything there is to race on the international stage in a 5-decade-long career. But sometimes when the heavens open and you're on slicks, experience won't save you. So still under full course yellow conditions. Expect this to be lifted soon now that Bleekemolen's car was in motion. We wait and see for confirmation from the race control. But for now, it is still under full course yellow. Paul Giffreau, he'll be hoping he can launch it across the line at full throttle at the very least. I'm sure we will go racing again before the end. I'd expect it in the next minute or so, potentially, depending on where that recovery tractor is based. But again, this is all beneficial for Giuffreau because it gives the drivers between himself and Siortsis less time to make a mistake. And at this point, mistakes are the only thing that Siortsis can really rely on. Doesn't look like the rain has gotten any heavier out there. Certain sections of the circuit still looking all but dry, but it is certainly treacherous around portions of this circuit. We're about to go back to the racing conditions. We're awaiting the confirmation of that. Next few moments, we're expecting to return to race conditions. Siortsis, 3 laps to go, and Siortsis has all the pressure in the world on his shoulders. The yellow flags have been lifted. We're back to racing conditions. Paul Giuffreau, currently your race leader, turns into fourth corner of the lap, and look at how bad it is now on the back straight. Oh, that's looking very treacherous. It's gotten heavier there, certainly. Vladimiros Siortsis on eggshells. Everybody on eggshells, especially through those chicanes where the curbs are painted. Oh, and NASCAR getting very sideways there. You can see how much everybody is struggling. Certain section of this circuit would now call for treaded tyres. That much is for certain. However, what can they really do about it? No point coming in for a pit stop now, no matter how bad it gets. Paul Giffreau, meanwhile, your race leader, will come across the line this time to begin at the penultimate lap of the race, the penultimate lap of a season where Paul Giffreau has really come into his own. And he's just corners away from making the ultimate statement of intent for seasons to come. Giffreau into turn one, carries the speed nicely, has to be careful. Avoids the curb on corner exit, very clever. You do not want to play with these painted curves. Oh, has he carried too much speed? No, not quite. That looked a bit ambitious, to be honest with you. And you can see how hard it is to put the power down as it continues to get wetter. Dancing the car through Canal. Powering now down this straight. I can only imagine he's at quarter, half throttle at best, given how damp it's looking. You can see the little wet trails that are being left by the slicks. Up and over the crest he goes, and you can see him trying to seek grip on alternative racing lines. Siortsis remains in 6th position. Oh, Paul Giffreau. I don't think this is how anybody would want to conclude a season this significant. Heart firmly in mouth, and I'm talking about myself there, so I don't know what Paul Giffreau is going through. We go towards the last sequence of bends through Boulderberg and towards Jochenrindt. This time by Paul Giffreau will begin the final lap of the EuroNASCAR 2 season. As it stands, it would be Giffreau the champion. I believe that Linster and Siortsis would end up tied on points, if I'm getting my maths right there. But I think Siortsis would still be runner-up in the championship, owing to taking more wins, of course, than Jill Linster. Paul Giffreau crosses the line to begin the final lap of the season. With the rain continuing to fall and the surface condition continuing to degrade, this is going to be the most difficult lap of his season. He's been side by side with title rivals. He has been in the wars and in the midst of three-wide situations this weekend. However, this will be the most challenging lap for Paul Giffreau. He is inching the car around the Circuit Zolder. Conditions continue to worsen. Everybody is on slick tyres. Everybody has to go into each corner simply having faith that they'll find adhesion, and there's no guarantee that it will be there. These Hoosier slick tyres are not built for these conditions. Paul Giffreau, though, is built for racing. He is built to be brave, and he is fully committed, or as fully committed as one can be in these conditions, at the front of the pack. He leads the race. He's about to score 80 points. Alberto Nasca was stopped there. So Alberto Nasca has had a problem. He's dropped down the order and just gone a lap down, but Nasca was stopped there at the Villeneuve chicane. So Alberto Nasca's season finale weekend has gone horribly wrong. And the way that car is angled, it just looks like it gave up on him. Alberto Nasca's season has faltered, unfortunately, on this final weekend. But let's go back to the leader. Let's go back to Paul Giffreau, because he is about to secure the biggest achievement of his racing career by a considerable margin. He came into EuroNASCAR 2, looked impressive, if not spectacular, in 2022. He shifted over to RDV competition, and he came into his own. And now the number 3 car, RDV competition, and Paul Giffreau can call themselves EuroNASCAR 2 champions. Giffreau has crossed the line to claim the win. He is, provisionally at least, the 2023 EuroNASCAR 2 champion. He can now enjoy his skid pan Circuit Zolder for the first time, now that he's crossed the line, and the heavens have just opened and gotten worse, haven't they? Vladimiros Siortsis crosses the line in 5th place, and he crosses the line ahead of Jill Linster. Jill Linster's made an error there somewhere on the last few laps, and Linster will cross the line behind Ciortsis, ergo Ciortsis will claim the runner-up spot in the championship. Drama, drama, and more drama still. You can see how heavy that rain is now in the first sector. I think if this race had started about 10 minutes later, there would have been people considering wet tyres, because look at how bad it is out there now. Dufro wins the race. Dubek claiming second ahead of Patrick Schauber. Melvin de Groot takes the Legend Trophy Championship with a 4th place finish. Vladi Ciortsis recovers nicely to 5th place, but it's not enough for him to secure and retain his championship lead. Gil Linster in 6th place. Fabrizio Armetta in at P7. Jack Davidson should secure the rookie trophy in 8th place. 9th place for Thomas Dombrowski and Thomas Tuffel in 10th. And oh, goodness me, there is Thomas Tuffel's car. I did mention that it was damaged in the early stages of the race. I didn't quite plot how damaged, but he managed to get it to the top 10. Roberto Benedetti in 11th, and Claudio Remeggio Capelli, who's usually a master in the rain, but did not like being on those slick tyres in those conditions. Paul Giffreau continues on past the pit entry. I think he has a little bit of celebrating to do. Giffreau, I reckon, is about to let the net down and let it all hang loose. There are some investigations pending. Incident between Ariana Casoli and Alberto Nasca under investigation, and also speed under full course yellow. But none of that matters to Paul Giffreau, who gets to do donuts with the greatest of ease, thanks in part to the conditions that we've been greeted with at the end of this race. Paul Giffreau celebrates in style here. He is a champion in EuroNASCAR 2. He wasn't a race winner even at the start of this year. This entire season has been something special for Paul Giffreau. He does have to be careful here doing an extra lap, because there's only so much he can get away with, given just how wet it now is. But if anybody has earned an extra lap of showboating this year, it's Paul Giffreau. This is his 3rd race victory of the season. I believe this also means that he's scored a top 10 in every race this year, which is a mighty record within EuroNASCAR 2. Of course, he's also now a factor in EuroNASCAR Pro as he rips the donuts once again. Oh, that hasn't gone brilliantly. Go on, you can do it. Don't get beached. Yes, nice. He's having a good time. But Giffreau has done brilliantly. He has also, of course, established himself now in the EuroNASCAR Pro Seat RDV competition, taking race victories along the way. He became the first ever driver to win a EuroNASCAR 2 and Pro race in the same day. Also the youngest ever winner in EuroNASCAR Pro history at Most. An RDV competition, I think they feel they have quite the driver on their hands. I think next season, whether or not Paul continues in EuroNASCAR 2, I would firmly expect him to be EuroNASCAR Pro contender. They'll be focusing on a title bid in Pro next year. But for now, they celebrate what 2023 has yielded to them. And that is a championship. Provisional point scores have come in from Reza Maulana of the EuroNASCAR team. Our thanks to Reza for all of the hard work he's doing this weekend to keep the spreadsheets working, among many other things. Paul Giffreau on 428 points, takes the championship on a provisional basis. So 428 for Dupro, 422 for Vladimiros Siortsis, 406 points for Jill Linster, who secures third in the championship, and Patrick Schauber, with his late surge in momentum, takes fourth in the championship. Martin Dubeck, the 2021 EuroNASCAR 2 champ, takes fifth place. Alberto Nasca, unfortunately, at least on a provisional basis, is only going to secure sixth position. Seventh place for Jack Davidson, who will claim the rookie championship. Eighth place for Melvin de Groot, who will claim the legends. Dombrowski and Capelli will round out the championship top 10. Victory Lane is packed. RDV competition will be smiling from ear to ear. Paul Giffreau has become a sensation this season. Everybody is elated for him. Last year he showed flashes of potential, and I don't think anybody would have seen 2023 coming. The switch to RDV competition seemed interesting. It seemed like somewhere where he could thrive, but I don't think any of us were expecting him to be this resplendent by the end of the 2023 season. He will climb out of the car momentarily. Will he finally get on the roof of the car is my question, because I don't think we've seen him do it so far this year. I think he has too much respect for his roof. There you see the scrum around the car, but we do have eyes on the car too. Here comes Paul Giffreau, and he does. He ascends the car. Paul Giffreau. I can see why he doesn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to either, but Paul Giffreau has climbed to the top of the standings and onto his roof. He is a champion. I don't know if Paul expected this at the start of the year. I'm interested to see what he has to say, but yeah, I don't think any of us anticipated this at the start of the season, but it has been a phenomenal 2023 in EuroNASCAR 2 and indeed in EuroNASCAR Pro from Paul Giffreau. He's still got a race to do this weekend. You see there that Andre Vigold is with him. We are going to hear from Giffreau momentarily. Andre, as he celebrates, what a way to conclude the season, man. Let's hear from him when you can get him.
Okay, thank you so much. I couldn't hear anything because of the noise in the background. Giffreau, you made it. You did it. You are the EuroNASCAR 2 2023 champion.
It's unbelievable. When you look at Valencia, changing team, a new ambition, and yeah, it's just there. It's unbelievable, and yeah, I will take some time to say to myself that I'm a European champion. For this time, it's a bit hard, but with all the guys that went to support me, it's just amazing to do that this weekend.
In the last laps, the rain was coming down. You were on slick tires. Just tell me how tough it was to keep this car on track.
It was really, really tough, and yeah, I had to use the karting ideal line with the wet tire, so I was braking at the inside, going at the outside at the apex, and just to not lose this car, because Dubeck was fast behind, so if I was doing a mistake, he was in front, and I will not be champion, so it was the 5 hardest lap of my life, and we made it.
How do you celebrate it? Come on, give us an insight what's going on this night.
I think we will do a good party, but we have the race in pro, so I have to focus on that now, maybe, even if it's a little bit difficult, but yeah, this night we will celebrate.
What about next year? Can you tell us anything?
Yeah, we'll be in EuroNASCAR Pro with RDV, and yeah, we will chase this title in pro.
All right, thank you so much. Congratulations, Paul Giffreau, the new champion.
Paul Giffreau is the new champion. And one last sticker for Paul Giffreau. And he gets to place it on the car. And if anyone has earned the championship, it's the driver that takes the championship lead in a race with conditions that difficult. It was so impressive that Paul Giuffreau and frankly everybody that managed to get to the end of that race, that anyone managed to get there in those conditions is impressive all on its own. Look at all of those stickers. 2 of them for race victories in EuroNASCAR Pro, 3 of them for victories in EuroNASCAR 2. Of course, he didn't do the full season in EuroNASCAR Pro, inherited the seat from Frédéric Gabillon following Brands Hatch. But Giuffreau has really stepped up and become a force to be reckoned with, and he confirmed it himself. EuroNASCAR Pro with RDV next year is the current plan. That's what he wants to do. And that team partnership, that team and driver partnership is still new, still in its infancy, but you have every reason to believe it's going to be one that yields success for years to come. We could be looking at a star of EuroNASCAR for many years to come, but equally, you could be looking at someone that the teams in America say, well, there's a road course ringer. You could be looking at someone who does well next year when EuroNASCAR returns to the ovals at Venray. And if he puts in a good performance there, he starts to look something like a complete package. The idea of NASCAR going international is to strengthen the links between the NASCAR Cup Series and the world beyond the United States. And as drivers like Paul Giuffreau, who is still such a young man, come into their own in a stock car on the other side of the world, I think that this next generation of EuroNASCAR stars could see their careers heighten well beyond Europe, potentially into the National Series on a full-time basis. We have seen, of course, the likes of Alan Day and Loris Hasemans make those moves, among many others. And I would not be shocked if in 5 years' time we speak of Paul Giuffreau competing at the very highest levels of NASCAR competition in the United States. If that's the career path he wants, and if his momentum and if his progression as a driver continues as it has done in these last 2 seasons, I don't see why you could rule it out. I think the EuroNASCAR Pro regulars are going to be watching this and going, okay, he means business. And, well, they already know that. He's taken 2 wins this season, but next year with a full season in EuroNASCAR Pro, he could really prove to be something special. The RDV competition team wanting to get some pictures. This is a momentous occasion for them. Great achievements up and down the grid, though. Paul Giuffreau celebrating. Of course, Vladimir Ciortzis, second in the championship, a vice champion. Given where he was coming into this weekend, given where he was coming into this race with the championship lead, he will be disappointed. However, he should be proud of the season that he has put forth. He has taken more race wins than anybody else this season. Ciortzis has again proven that he's one of the fastest drivers out there in the EuroNASCAR paddock. Jill Lindster has come on strong in the final weekend too. He should be happy with 3rd in the points. And Patrick Schauber, that's a driver that I have my eye on for next year's EuroNASCAR too. He and Double V Racing have really struck gold in the last couple of meetings, and if they can carry that momentum into 2024, Schauber could be a contender. Hopefully the likes of Alberto Nasca can regroup and pick themselves up from what has been a very difficult conclusion to the season. I know that so many of you watching along live with us are huge fans of Alberto. I know how disappointing weekends like this are. Unfortunately, motorsport is a cruel and unyielding dice, and sometimes when you roll the dice, it doesn't pay off. And for Alberto NASCAR, the last couple of meetings have been a challenge, but I know that Alberto and his passion for racing can withstand just about anything. I'm sure he will regroup and come back stronger in 2024. So then it shouldn't be too long before we get the podium ceremonies underway. Of course, understandably, the organisation wanting Paul Giffreau to have this moment, wanting to get as many fans down there as possible. There are so many fans here this weekend at the Circuit Zolder, or the American Festival of NASCAR. They'll be treated, of course, to the EuroNASCAR season finale in Pro in just a little while. There's also the small matter of the Belcar GTs out there on circuit as well. It's a pretty exciting schedule this weekend here at the Circuit Zolder. And the live experience in EuroNASCAR is second to none in terms of fan access, in terms of access to the drivers and the cars. And there's no greater evidence of that than the grid walks we see ahead of the pro races. You barely see the car in victory lane from that shot. One thing that is worth noting is despite just how wounded Thomas Tuffel's car was, he actually scored the 8 bonus points there at the end of the season. 23rd to 10th place for Thomas Tuffel and 3rd in the rookies. So a good end to his season. I think many of our drivers will be buzzing. I know Jack Davidson has worked very hard to get this Rookies Championship, and you wouldn't have really put money on him following Brands Hatch. He had a difficult time at Valencia. Brands Hatch, he had that huge accident with Patrick Schauber, of course. Do they know they're on telly? Of course they don't. So then, we'll have presentations momentarily. We've just had the running order through for the podium, so that will happen in just a few minutes' time. I'm sure that for Paul Giffreau, he's going to get the biggest cheer of his career to date. The fans have clocked the camera. That much is for certain. The things you do to get noticed on television. A few of the fans have managed to get away with some tyres. I think those are GT tyres as opposed to the NASCAR Hoosiers, but you can get the NASCAR tyres as well off of the teams at the conclusion of a weekend, usually. Go away with a new coffee table. It's always something I aspire to do, is bring one home from one of these meetings and turn it into a coffee table. Paul Giffreau is going to have quite the coffee table ornament in the form of a championship trophy. It will be the championship podium that goes on first here. Fans still celebrating. And in a few moments, we should get the podium up there. But of course, so many drivers with so much to celebrate, it's particularly difficult to convince them to pause the party, especially those that don't have to race again today. Paul Giffreau and RDV competition have secured the EuroNASCAR 2 championship here today. They did so at the last hurdle. They've always looked likely. But finally, the title has been sealed. Certainly this weekend, Paul Giffreau has looked second to none in terms of the form here at Zolder. Vladimir Osiorts has always looked like he was struggling at this circuit. It didn't hook up for him. Personnel making their way up to the podium. We'll bring you the race podiums as well as the championship podium. A few additional presentations to be done given the time of the season. And we'll see them up there shortly, I hope, but the fans waiting patiently for the presentations to begin. Not be too long before we go racing again here in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, and of course it will be the big title decider that comes next. The Sunday, or rather I should say the EuroNASCAR Pro broadcast is actually to begin in just over an hour, so you don't have to wait too long at all to see the season finale in EuroNASCAR Pro. The 13:30 local time when the presentations, or rather when the race begins for the EuroNASCAR Pro season finale, or the broadcast begins for the last race of the season. At least racing should kick off somewhere just after 2 o'clock. Still see drivers intermittently making their way up there. I think everybody is having to do their best herding impression at the moment. Of course, it's not just the drivers that have things to celebrate, it's the drivers that don't as well. If you've had a rough race, you're not interested in the season podium presentation, really. If in the here and now you've had a rough race, You just kind of want to sit in the garage and forget about it all, but they're not going to get the luxury of doing that. Of course, the season for Paul Giffreau. I think we are now getting the presentation. Sounded like the presentations were going to begin shortly. It did feel as though the season really kicked into life for Siortsis at Vallelunga, where he claimed that initial EuroNASCAR 2 victory. But even before that, at Brands Hatch, he started to show signs of what was to come. And here comes the championship podium, so says the local announcer. So that should mean that Vladimiros Siortsis has joined us. I think people were looking for him, but here comes Gilles Lindstedt, who takes the third step. No fourth place for him. Third in the championship this year. Vladimiros Siortsis second. And Paul Giffreau is your 2023 EuroNASCAR 2 champion. It has been a great season for the Frenchman. I think we may get anthems. In fact, we get the trophies first. So, third place trophy being delivered to Gilles Lindstedt. Second place trophy to Vladimiros Siortsis is a bigger trophy than normal, Jill. Get used to this podium. I think you'll be on it more in 2023, 2024. Vladimiros Siortsis was second in the championship. I think he can still go home happy. He's done a brilliant job this season with the Academy Alex Caffey team. Meanwhile, the biggest trophy of all goes to Paul Giffreau. He is EuroNASCAR 2 champion of 2023. Given appropriate levels of prizes, he's got a special We're panneau there as well. Victory plaques handed out there. If we can get a look at those, I'm interested to see exactly what those are. Are those national anthems? There you go. Drivers there just before we went to the anthems, receiving their invitations to the NASCAR annual banquet in the United States. They will be rubbing shoulders with the good and great of NASCAR, not just in the US, but around the world, at the biggest event, the biggest trophy ceremony, prize ceremony in motorsport. That's going to be really exciting for them. Paul Giffreau adds his name to a great list of champions. Based on what we saw from him last year with Liam Hasemans, he is going to be force to be reckoned with in EuroNASCAR Pro as well. We saw exactly what Hasemans could do this year. Of course, Hasemans has a race later on. We've seen what Giffreau can do in EuroNASCAR Pro already, and I think he will be a top contender. Vladimir Osiortis wins the race to get the Champagne Open. Oh dear, that was that took a while, that. But they've got it done. Giffreau still hasn't succeeded. Oh, this is so cruel. He's the champion of EuroNASCAR 2, but he is a subpar bottle opener. And Vladimir Osiortis is donating the open bottle. Vladdy. I do love Vladdy. He's such a good guy off the track, and another great example of that there. There you go. They've got their invitations across the Atlantic at the prize ceremony in the US, and we'll continue these celebrations long into the evening. At least those that aren't racing later, of course. Jill Linster is the only one on the podium who can afford to now go and celebrate with his bottle of champagne. Osiortis and Giffreau have an obligation in about 1 hour to go and get ready to go EuroNASCAR Pro racing, of course. Next podium on the program is the race podium. So Paul Giffreau is going to head up top once again, this time with Patrick Schauber and Martin Dubeck in tow. Patrick Schauber up to the third step of the podium now. Martin Dubeck taking the second place step. Paul Giffreau the top step again, an all-important third victory of his racing season. They will receive the race trophies and the bottles of Guérin family Pano. So much excitement to come in the EuroNASCAR Pro season finale, where the title fight is equally as compelling. Martin Dubeck, another driver, of course, who will be doing both. Patrick Schauber's weekend is complete, though, so he can watch from the sidelines and reflect upon his season with Double V Racing. I'm sure both parties, both Schauber and Double V, will be hugely keen. National anthem. Apologies there, I don't have all of the audio that you guys have, so I couldn't hear that anthem playing, but this time Paul Giffreau has managed to uncork a bottle. Good stuff. Patrick Schauber and Martin Dubeck celebrating alongside him as they cheers the conclusion of this season. Patrick Schauber looks happy with his work in this event. It's massive as well for the likes of Paul Giffreau and whoever takes the title in EuroNASCAR Pro. Gordon Barnes as well, the Club Challenge champion. All of these guys are NASCAR champions in the 75th anniversary year, and that counts for a lot too. That is a real achievement. One that they should all savour. So much history behind NASCAR, and as they go into the final quarter of their first century, again, I expect the international relationships that have been forged with us here in EuroNASCAR, with the various other American Continental Series, the Canadian, Mexican, and now Brazilian Series as well. I'm sure we're going to see more and more international integration, more and more flags represented in the NASCAR Cup Series. Jack Davidson climbs to the top of this particular podium, which is the Rookie Trophy race podium, although the Rookie Trophy season podium is the same, so I think they might try and do two in one shot here, and if they don't, well, they've missed an opportunity because there's a lot to go through. Thomas Tuffel on the third step of the race podium in the Rookie Trophy. Thomas Dombrowski claiming second. And Jack Davidson, winner in the race, winner in the EuroNASCAR 2 Rookie Trophy as well. I'm sure there's a second season in the wings for the Scotsman as well. Again, fortune wasn't always in his favour, but when he has had the opportunity to run clean and run without incident, he has been impressive and has got quicker and quicker each weekend. I'm interested to see what Davidson could achieve with a second full season. Of course, being a driver that has raced primarily, if not entirely, on UK circuits before this year, and was very much the element of trying to figure out the tracks here. I believe they are receiving both trophies at once, which is probably a smart move from the organisation there. Lots of bottles, lots of trophies, lots of parties. Although, again, only for one driver, because both Dombrowski and Thomas Tuffel have the small matter of a EuroNASCAR Pro race to contend with. He is a champion, Jack Davidson. And the Marco Stipp Motorsport 48 crew will be excited to celebrate that title along with him as well. They'll be backing Yevgen Sokolovsky, of course, in the EuroNASCAR Pro race in just an hour or so. Again, Jack Davidson has a very good throwing arm. Perhaps if this NASCAR thing doesn't work out, we can try and get him to American football. So our next ceremonies will begin momentarily. In fact, they've already begun. The Legend Trophy race podium is in a different formation from the championship podium, so these guys will get two distinct ceremonies. Roberto Benedetti, third in the Legend Trophy race today, managed to overtake Claudio Capelli late in the race as Capelli struggled with the slicks on the wet tyres. Oh, sorry, rather the slicks on the wet track. Fabrizio Armetta, second in the Legend Trophy race podium. Of course, he's another driver who'll be out there in a bit in EuroNASCAR Pro. And Melvin de Groot on the top step, as he will be in the championship as well. Melvin steps off the podium, but he'll only do so for a minute because he and Benedetti will both need to get back up there, along with Claudio Remeggio Capelli for the Legend Trophy season podium. Capelli could have stolen that title away from Melvin with a good race performance today, but unfortunately the combination of slicks and wet conditions did not work in the Italian Stallion's favour. Is Claudio up there? Yes, he is. He's just not in his distinctive yellow. He's already gotten changed. Well. Melvin de Groot taking this Legend Trophy podium top step then. Good effort from Benedetti to take third in the Legend Trophy this season. He's always been there or thereabouts, knocking around at the bottom half of the top 10 at times, and I think his progression has been obvious. Claudio Remeggio Capelli, I think his luck has not quite matched his performance this season. I'm interested to see how he'll do in 2024. And Melvin de Groot Long, one of the quickest drivers in EuroNASCAR 2's Legend elements, one of the top half dozen or so drivers overall usually as well. Melvin is always impressive, and it's a deserved title, about as close as he'll get this year to home turf. But of course next season we do return to the Netherlands, so he will be excited about that. Melvin and Claudio discuss the events of the day. Just one more presentation, I think, because there's only one driver involved with this one, and that is the Lady Trophy race and season presentations, both of which will of course go to Arianna Casoli. Arianna, we understand, had an incident with Alberto Nasca in that last race, but I think she still made it across the line to take the checkered flag. Arianna will receive not one but two trophies for the season and for the race. The race podium was in her left hand, the season on her right, and she'll be hoping for some competition in Lady Trophy next year on a full-time basis. She's had a couple of guest drivers in here or there, but by and large it has been Ari on her own this year, but that's hopefully not the case in 2024. And we're sure that EuroNASCAR 2 will have some returning faces, will have some new faces, and a whole new championship battle once again. Paul Dufresne has claimed the overall title in EuroNASCAR 2. He and several others have a race to come later on in just about an hour's time at 13:30 local time. We will go racing in a EuroNASCAR Pro for the final time. Make sure you join us in about 50 minutes for all the action from the EuroNASCAR Pro season finale. Go and grab a coffee in the interim. Well done, Paul Dufresne.
when you come to Kvarner, treat yourself to an experience you will remember. Enjoy the luxurious ambience. Experience superior service. Indulge in endless pleasures. The pearl of the tourism offer in the pearl of the Adriatic. Liburnia, Hotels and Villas.